Welcome to Pennsylvania's Haunted History. This list of 10 is part of a playlist of gentle listening spooky collections from across the USA. The screen fades to black so you can enjoy the stories without distractions if relaxing or studying. Please do consider a like and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. This list will be a little different because it will be easy enough to rattle off well-known places from the battle at Gettysburg or include the ghost of the lady who designed the American flag, Betsy Ross. Instead, I'll hope to bring you some lesser-known places from Pennsylvania. First is a battlefield that isn't Gettysburg, and it's often overlooked. It's the Brandywine battlefield in Chester County. This battlefield sits on land at Thornbury Farm in Chadds Ford. Around 2,000 Revolutionary War soldiers lost their lives on September 11, 1777, from a total of 30,000, when George Washington's troops fought the British Army. It was the largest single-day land battle of the whole war, with so much carnage that blood from the battlefield flowed a distance of 2 miles to the Brandywine Creek. There are 2 mass graves of soldiers still on the property, and the 1709 stone-built farmhouse is still there. It became a makeshift field hospital during the battle, and is said to be haunted by the ghosts of several horses, a visibly wounded soldier, and a crying child. At number 2 is the Oyster Mill Playhouse in Camp Hill. Kathy Spacht was sitting in the end seat on the top row of Oyster Mill Playhouse, with nobody else around her. She felt something tap her head. She thought nothing of it, but later felt a stronger tap on her head. A few minutes later she was again tapped on her head, but so strongly she had to get up out of the seat and move. A few rows down, a man was laughing to himself because he knew what had happened. Kathy had sat in someone else's seat. It belonged to a ghost. What had happened makes sense when you hear the short backstory. The building that plays home to the playhouse was originally a farmhouse, and the owner's ghosts have stayed around. They apparently enjoy watching the performances at the playhouse, and each has their own seat on the top row. When it's occupied during rehearsals or auditions, the ghosts will sometimes do their best to politely get the occupant to leave, which explains the tapping. The playhouse is reportedly haunted by 5 spirits: the farmhouse couple, a little girl who loves to play in the costume racks upstairs, an angry mill worker, and another unidentified man. Third on our list is the Old Jail Museum in a town called Jim Thorpe. The Old Jail Museum sits on the edge of the Pocono Mountain. Literally, it's built into the side of the Rocky Mountain. It was formerly the Carbon County Prison when built in 1871 and lasted in that role until 1995. It's now open to the public as a museum. There's a famous ghost story based there known as the Day of the Rope. On June 21, 1877, 4 Irish coal miners were hanged in the old jail at one time. It was punishment for daring to fight for better treatment and working conditions. The leader of the group, Alexander Campbell, put his hand on the wall of cell 17 and swore that his handprint would remain visible as proof of his innocence. Over the 148 years since, it's been scrubbed, cleaned off, painted over, and has always stayed there. The wall was even demolished and rebuilt at one point, but to this day, that handprint is still there. At number 4 is the Logan Inn in New Hope. Built in 1722, the property was established as a tavern and is one of the oldest in the USA. Its role changed during the Revolutionary War, however, into becoming a storage area for the casualties until they could be properly buried. The basement was used for that purpose. One of the most common sightings at the Logan Inn is a soldier from the war who beats his drum around the building. Other rumoured spirit guests include the ghost of AREN Burr and the mother of a former inn owner. Orbs dart around the building, plainly visible with the naked eye, and you might catch sight of a spirit if you stay in room 6. That's known as Emily's room. If the smell of lavender fills the air, she might manifest shortly afterwards. Halfway through the list we have Hell's Hollow on Bestwick Road in Mercer. This nature trail is built on Native American hunting grounds and is supposedly haunted by an old resident. As the story goes, a man called Harthagig mysteriously disappeared and his skeleton was found 9 years later. Some visitors say they've heard the man's groans and screams at what has been dubbed Spirit Falls. Nearby, some stones from the waterfall were used to build a farmhouse. One of its owners, Eliza Stranahan died in 1901 and her ghost can be seen in one of the windows. At number 6 is the Hotel Bethlehem in Bethlehem. The building was once the very first house in the town until it became a hotel. 4 ghosts can be found there, all with strong ties to the hotel. The first is said to be actor and singer May Yo, who was actually born in the hotel. She's been heard singing in the lobby, and guests have seen her apparition in the exercise room. Another is Francis Daddy Thomas, who worked in Bethlehem as a tour guide before his death in 1822. The remaining 2 ghosts are the building's original landlords, Mr. and Mrs. Brong. Much of the activity seems to be within room 932, where people report lights going on and off, see apparitions in the mirror, and hear the voice of a male spirit who wakes guests in the night asking why they're in his room. There have also been times when guests have opened the bathroom door to find a whole different room on the other side. Let's hope they were covered by a towel. At spot number 7 is the Accomack Inn off Route 30 in Wrightsville. One of the inn's female servers is quoted as saying, "When it's dark and quiet and usually between 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. things happen," she said. "You get used to hearing footsteps and you think someone calls your name and there's no one there." The inn has a romantic tragedy of a ghost story attached to it, and as the story goes, Johnny Coyle lived with his mum and dad at the inn in the 1800s. The girl that he loved, possibly named Molly, was a hired help and wasn't interested in him. He became so upset that he shot and killed the girl in the barn. He was found guilty and was hanged for the crime. Johnny Coyle is buried on a hill next to the restaurant, but apparently he'll enter the inn to play pranks on the servers, such as breaking dishes, moving objects or slamming doors. Witnesses have also reported hearing music and voices inside the inn. The girl's presence has been picked up during paranormal investigations, and an employee has reported seeing the 2 apparitions in an upstairs storage room. At spot number 8 is the Cathedral of Learning on the campus of the University of Pittsburgh. This massive monolith of a structure is the 2nd tallest education building in the world, beaten only by a tower at the Moscow State University in Russia. The 42-story building was completed in 1937 and contains more than 2,000 rooms. One of those depicts early America, and a passageway leads to the 2nd level of the room, which depicts a bedroom. It's in this bedroom that paranormal events occur. For example, one time the bed was being made and a quilt was thrown over it. A wind noise was heard and the quilt had flipped over. There was a dent at the top near the headboard, like a head was resting there. Another time the director was taking a nap in the bedroom, and at some point she heard a loud crashing sound from the floor. She looked and found her handbag on the floor when it had been securely sitting on a chair for the past hour and a half. A cradle in the room has been seen rocking backwards and forwards, and freshly baked bread has been smelled from the oven in the room. For number 9 is the Frankenberger Tavern on East Main Street in Mechanicsburg. One of the oldest buildings still standing in Mechanicsburg, the 1801 Tavern has seen a lot through the years, including a murder. The story goes that a cattle driver was enjoying a few drinks after selling his cattle for $300 cash. He began to brag about the sale and was robbed and killed that night. His face is said to appear in the upstairs window of the tavern. Screams have also been heard coming from the upper floor, terrifying those nearby. The tavern is now a museum, but the previous owner said that when she was a girl growing up there, they'd put things down at night and by the morning they'd been moved. Other people have experienced the same, with objects being moved and phantom bangings when no one's around. To tally with such reports, the Harrisburg Area Paranormal Society caught an EVP of someone saying, "I did it." Or perhaps that was the voice of the murderer. Finally, we have Christ Church Burial Ground on Arch Street in Philadelphia. The 5 signers of the Declaration of Independence are buried at Christ Church. Benjamin Franklin and his wife Deborah are also buried there, as is the man who dug their graves. There's a tradition of throwing a penny onto Benjamin Franklin's grave, as an homage to him being credited for the proverb, "A penny saved is a penny earned." Franklin's ghost has been reported to be active on the grounds, and in one case has thrown pennies at a nurse in 1976. What might not be expected either is that according to the book Haunted Philadelphia, he's been rumoured to give ladies a pinch on the bum too. Thank you for joining me on this little journey. There's usually so much history about war tragedies in Pennsylvania that it's been somewhat refreshing to learn of other spirits in the Keystone State. I hope you'll be here for the next one. Rhode Island.